Welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung, and today we're going to be reacting to some news that happened yesterday. The Miami Dolphins have officially lost out on the Dalvin Cook sweepstakes as he has opted to sign a one-year contract with the New York Jets worth up to over $8 million. Now, those words up to do indicate that maybe Dalvin Cook may not see all of those $8 million. There are probably some terms and conditions thrown in, but nevertheless, the point made is that Dalvin Cook will be a member of the New York Jets. That is the only team that he visited with, and so he has opted to go ahead and sign with the Jets. The Jets gave him the money he was looking for, and I guess the decision was as simple as that. We will get into a little bit more about the details of it all, but before that, really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that as always, this show is brought to you by our good friends over at You Brake Wheel Fix. You Brake Wheel Fix is the complete automotive wheel solution. Ever parked too close to the sidewalk curb? You Brake Wheel Fix specializes in the repair of damaged wheels from bends, cracks, and curb rash. Or maybe your wheels are faded or peeling. You don't need to replace them, as You Brake Wheel Fix can refinish them to like new. Offering complete refinish options through powder coating, machining, and polishing, You Brake Wheel Fix is the answer to all of your wheel needs. And if you're just looking to give your ride a new look, You Brake Wheel Fix also offers many car customizing options, such as new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands, performance upgrades, window tinting, and suspension modifications. Located just south of Aventura, you can reach Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. They are really active on all social media platforms at You Brake Wheel Fix, so shoot them a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Yes, Twitter. I understand that is now x.com. I don't care. It is Twitter. And get an estimate in just minutes. So don't delay. Go to You Brake Wheel Fix and start customizing your ride to show off your Dolphins fandom today. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is a revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each, it's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials to where you can get your money back if you lose, or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. With offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up if you are any kind of a fantasy sports fan. So use the promo code 5, that's F-I-V-E, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5, F-I-V-E. Go to prizepicks.com, deposit your $100, and since today is Taco Tuesday, go take advantage of that $100 that they give you and go find some discounted props for you to get started winning with today. So let's go ahead and just briefly recap everything, shall we? So the Dalvin Cook situation felt like that it was all but a foregone conclusion that he would eventually join the Miami Dolphins. We had been hearing over and over and over again from his trainer, Nick Hicks, that Dalvin Cook wanted to be a Miami Dolphin. We had heard rumors. We had heard from Cook himself that he said he wanted to be a Miami Dolphin, that he would love to have joined the Miami Dolphins. However, it would seem that the Miami Dolphins were not particularly interested in matching what Dalvin Cook was wanting from the team that he wanted to join. In a similar vein to the Jordan Poyer discussion, Jordan Poyer really wanted to be a Miami Dolphin. He made it a point to say that he wanted to be a Miami Dolphin. He all but waved a neon sign that said, "Miami, please sign me." And yet, whatever contract the Dolphins were willing to offer Jordan Poyer, it clearly was way below whatever he was looking for, financially speaking, because he quickly turned right back around and joined the Buffalo Bills all over again, which meant that the Jordan Poyer sweepstakes came to a swift and abrupt end with the Miami Dolphins lowballing him, or at least what he perceived to be a lowball offer. So now we have the Dalvin Cook thing. Once again, we have a free agent, a really good free agent, who is out there saying, I want to join the Miami Dolphins. And apparently, him wanting to join the Miami Dolphins, as true as it may be, did not go ahead and take priority over the fact that he also wanted to be paid. We had heard many times, not only did he want to join the Dolphins, how he also wanted to get similar money to what he was going to get from the Minnesota Vikings to begin with. Again, the whole reason the Vikings went ahead and cut him is because they're looking to save some cash. They already have a guy that they think can take Dalvin Cook's role somewhat. And so with Dalvin Cook aging, his injury history, the Vikings went ahead and said, you know what, we can go ahead and part ways. They did try to trade him. It didn't pan out. And so they went ahead and they released him. And they saved that cap space. They did. Now, they're on the hook for $2 million with him, But that was okay with Dalvin Cook because if all else failed, he could always just take the year off and he would be good to go for a really good long time with that $2 million. He can just sit out the year, rest up, and he figured that there would be teams lining up to sign him somewhere. But that didn't turn out to be the case. He took a visit with the New York Jets. We had been told, we had heard, once again from his trainer Nick Hicks, that he wasn't all that impressed with the New York Jets visit. Maybe he wasn't impressed with what they had to offer. Maybe he didn't want to be on Hard Knocks. Who knows? But the simple fact of the matter is, for a while, it looked like Dalvin Cook was not going to join the Jets. We started hearing more rumors that, oh, well, maybe the Patriots might sign him. Or we went back to the Miami Dolphins discussion. Well, I guess he's going to join the Dolphins after all. He didn't seem that impressed with the New York Jets. Nope. As it turns out, once the Jets upped their offer, and again, he's making, I believe, up to $8.6 million per Adam Schefter. So, again, there are going to be terms and conditions whenever you have that sort of wording in a tweet. But either way, he's going to be making a lot more money than whatever the Dolphins were going to be willing to offer him. And say no more. Okay, Dalvin Cook is a New York Jet. Just a quick recap here on what the Dolphins missed out on by not signing Dalvin Cook. Understand that we all know what kind of a player Dalvin Cook is. I was the one who was saying I wanted Dalvin Cook. My co-host on Pulse of Fins Nation, Ron Caniff, somebody who guests on this show every once in a while, he was not all that enthusiastic about it. Not that he would say I don't want Dalvin Cook, but he just said I'm not really pushing for Dalvin Cook. He wanted a higher priority on re-signing the guys we already have. Christian Wilkins. He wanted to re-sign Zach Sealer. Wanted to re-sign Connor Williams. There are other guys that need attention as well. So Dalvin Cook was very low on Ron's priority list. So once again, just to recap, this is a guy who has made the Pro Bowl for the past 4 years, and he has gotten over 1,000 yards rushing in each of those 4 years. 2019, 250 carries, 1,135 yards, and he scored as well 13 touchdowns. That was in 2019. In 2020, he went for 312 attempts, 1,557 yards, 16 touchdowns. 2021, 249 carries, 1,159 yards, and then 6 touchdowns. 2022, and this is, again, it was 17 games played. He played almost every single game. 264 carries, 1,173 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Now, you may be wondering why his numbers are so low if he played so many more games, because 2019, he played 14 games, 2020, 14 games, 2021, 13 games, and then 2022, he played 17. Well, keep in mind that he was already starting to share carries with the Vikings' other running back, Alexander Mattinson, who, by the way, is now the guy that they are hoping will take over for Dalvin Cook now that he's gone. So, okay, that's fine. So now Dalvin Cook is not going to be the workhorse back for the New York Jets. He's going to be sharing carries with Breece Hall. Now, we had the impression that what Dalvin Cook was wanting was to be a workhorse back. He wanted to be able to get a lot of carries because that's just what it is that he wanted to do. He considers himself one of the best running backs in football. I can agree with that assessment. He is somebody who I think is considered a top 5 running back, and he should be given that respect. That's part of why I wanted the Dolphins to sign him, because he gives this sort of mystique. He demands respect from defensive coordinators that some of the other guys that are on the Dolphins roster right now cannot command yet, either because they don't have that same skill set that he has, they don't have that same resume that Dalvin Cook has. And with all that put together, you would think that if the Dolphins really were pushing for a Super Bowl, they would go ahead and they would sign Dalvin Cook, even if it's to a deal that is more along the lines of what he's looking for rather than what the Dolphins ultimately offered him. We can easily speculate that they was probably somewhere around $4 to $5 million, right? That's an easy speculation to make. That's worthy of somebody of Dalvin Cook's caliber. Now, I would also like to point out, the same day that Dalvin Cook signed his deal with the New York Jets, Ezekiel Elliott, the Dallas Cowboys' former star running back, went ahead and signed a deal with the New England Patriots. His contract is worth up to a little over $6 million. So again, terms and conditions still apply, but Ezekiel Elliott, who has not shown that he has that same caliber play still in him like Dalvin Cook has, is still getting upwards of $6 million potentially. So even though there's this talk about how running backs are not getting paid, you apparently can still get by on being a big name running back. Ezekiel Elliott has not been that same guy in Dallas for a couple of years now. That's why Tony Pollard was getting so many carries and he was having so much success, is because he was having to split the load with Ezekiel Elliott, who, yes, he was still having his good moments, but he has not been that workhorse running back for the Cowboys for a very long time now. And so now you have Dalvin Cook joining the New York Jets. He will share carries with Breece Hall. Now, granted, he's not quite ready to come back yet. There is a week or so to go because of the injury history that he's had. He's went ahead and had a surgery on his shoulder back in February, so it's going to be about another week before he is ready to go. But the Jets are not in a hurry to rush him back, so it's very unlikely they're even a little bit worried about that. So they'll have Dalvin Cook, and they will have Breece Hall, which is a very strong 1-2 punch at the running back position, I will admit. And of course, Aaron Rodgers is still going to Aaron Rodgers all over the AFC East, I am sure, because even though he's not the same guy that he was once in his prime, he is still a very, very, very good quarterback who knows what he has to do to get the job done. So does Dalvin Cook move the needle for me when it comes to the New York Jets? Not really. The Jets were already going to be dangerous just because they had Aaron Rodgers, and Breece Hall by himself is already a very good running back, and they have a lot better weapons for Aaron Rodgers to work with now with Garrett Wilson and those guys, and of course he has all of his Packers boys in New York now, so Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, all that wonderful stuff. He's going to have people to throw to. That's not something that we weren't expecting already. But once again, this is where I feel like we have to keep in mind what the Miami Dolphins were actually doing here. The reason they were not hyper-focused on Dalvin Cook is because they already have confidence in the guys that are on the roster. And I completely understand, and I even feel they are justified in thinking that way. Because once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to run down this for everybody. I'm not going to be one of those people who goes ahead and starts talking about how much Dalvin Cook sucks now that he's a member of the New York Jets. He's just as good on the Jets as he would have been on the Miami Dolphins. He is worthy of that same respect, and I think that Vic Fangio will go ahead and will take into account the fact that he is there and that he can hurt the Dolphins in many ways. He did so in Minnesota. He will continue to do so in New York, I am sure, because he is a very good player. But when it comes to what the Miami Dolphins have on their roster, just as a little brief reminder for everybody here, this is the kind of guy that the Miami Dolphins can count on right now. So we'll start with Raheem Mostert, and this is something that I talked about way months ago when the Dolphins re-signed Raheem Mostert to his contract that he has now to begin with. Let me just go ahead and break this down for you guys. Raheem Mostert, just so everybody understands, he's a little bit older than Dalvin Cook, granted, but he's going to be working with a bunch of running backs on this roster. But I will go ahead and I'll break this down for you. Raheem Mostert made a name for himself in the San Francisco 49ers offense, which is where Mike McDaniel ultimately came from, and with the San Francisco 49ers, ever since he got with the San Francisco 49ers. In 2017, let me just break this down for you guys here. I understand. 2017, 6 attempts, 30 yards, averaged 5 yards a carry. Okay, not impressive because he didn't run the ball that much. Okay, and let's do 2018, starting to get a little bit more here. 34 attempts, 261 yards, average 7.7 yards a carry. Okay, we're starting to give him the ball a little bit more. 2019, now it starts getting serious here. In 2019, he had 137 attempts, 772 yards, ran for 8 touchdowns, which averaged out for his yardage 5.6 yards per attempt. Let's keep going down the list. 2020, he got 104 carries, 521 yards, 2 touchdowns, average 5 yards a carry. Fine. And then in 2021, obviously that didn't happen very well for him. 2 attempts, 20 yards, 10 yards per attempt, but he got injured for the rest of the season and he was not able to continue playing for the 49ers. So now, here come the Miami Dolphins. They sign Raheem Mostert to a contract. And now we're going to look at this, just so everybody remembers, in 2022, coming into the same kind of system that he ran in San Francisco, Raheem Mostert got 181 carries, which is a career high, for 891 yards, which is also a career high, and averaged 4.9 yards per attempt. Granted, that is the least. 4.9 yards per attempt is the smallest number that Raheem Mostert has ever run for in his career. That's almost 5 yards a carry, and that is the worst average per attempt that he has had in his entire career. I keep saying this over and over again. We're looking at Dalvin Cook and understanding that, yes, he's a very good player, and he's run for over 1,000 yards in the last 4 seasons that he's been in the NFL. But Raheem Mostert easily could have been a 1,000-yard rusher as well if he had been given a few more attempts to run the football. I truly believe that. He only played in the 16 games. He missed 2 games with an injury. And if not only that, with as often as the Dolphins offense was actually on the field, you notice that, and we've talked about this, they didn't run the ball very often. If Raheem Mostert had been given more opportunities to run the football, he very easily could have eclipsed that 1,000-yard rushing mark. Is he as good as Dalvin Cook? No, he is not. But what the Dolphins offense is going to be wanting from him is not to become Dalvin Cook. They want him to be somebody who can be a change of pace running back, somebody who's going to be able to keep the defense on their toes and can maybe sometimes get a little bit of an extra yard here and there, maybe on a short yardage situation, because he's probably the strongest running back that is likely to make the team right now. Like, I know we're talking about guys like Chris Brooks, who had himself a good preseason game, but let's be real about this. Raheem Mostert is probably the guy that they're going to keep as the power back, quote unquote. Not that he is a power back. Speed is still the name of his game, but he showed a lot of strength last season, and I think that he can capitalize on that a little bit more. And then, of course, you have Jeff Wilson. Let me just briefly break down Jeff Wilson's career as a reminder for everybody. While Jeff Wilson's resume is not as impressive as Raheem Mostert's on paper, for what he is, a role player on a roster that was filled with talent, Jeff Wilson has a pretty impressive resume. Let me break it down for you. As a rookie in 2018, he averaged 4 yards a carry. That's 66 attempts, 266 yards. But also, he was targeted 15 times, caught 12 of those passes for 98 yards. Okay, so he's showing that he can catch passes out of the backfield already from the jump. 2019, 27 attempts, 105 yards, 4 touchdowns rushing, actually. 3.9 yards per attempt, not as good. And he had only had 3 catches for 34 yards. He only played in 10 games, though. So keep this in mind, is that things are going to be a little bit different with him. They're using him in different ways. In 2020, he had 126 attempts, 600 yards, 7 touchdowns rushing. That's 4.8 yards a carry, by the way. And he caught 13 passes for 133 yards and 3 touchdowns on that one. So he caught for over 133 yards. So you can add that to the total yards from scrimmage number if you'd like. Sometimes people like to combine that sort of thing. 2021. He had 79 attempts rushing, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. He only averaged 3.7 yards a carry and 7 catches for 31 yards. Again, but understand this. Seeing how the numbers are fluctuating a lot, there were other players on that roster who were taking snaps away from Jeff Wilson. And it's not that Jeff Wilson wasn't good. That was why the Dolphins were able to get him at such a low price. The 49ers didn't really know what to do with him. There was just too many running backs on the roster who could contribute, and there just weren't enough snaps for Jeff Wilson to go around. It didn't mean he was bad. It just meant that there were other guys who maybe have been slightly better, maybe fit the scheme a little bit more. But all that is very minimal in the grand scheme of things. So now he comes to Miami. And this is during midseason. He's already played 8 games with the 49ers in 2022 by the time he makes it to Miami. While he was with the 49ers in 2022, he got 92 carries, 468 yards rushing, and he actually ended up catching 10 catches for 91 yards. Okay, fine. Now he goes to Miami. He gets traded to Miami. 84 attempts, 392 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and he catches 12 passes for 94 yards. So if you combine that whole thing there, you went ahead and you added, let me just break this down for you guys, 860 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, and he caught 22 passes for 185 yards. All right, again, role player. Jeff Wilson is not somebody who's supposed to be the workhorse running back. He is not somebody who you look at and say, you are the guy, but he's a darn good change of pace back, somebody who can get the job done when it's needed. And again, he's not somebody who's going to get all of your carries. He's not Dalvin Cook, but he can get the job done when it's needed, just like Raheem Mostert can. And of course, with all that this time we've been discussing these running backs, we did not even get into our rookie Devonta Chain. Let me just give you some understanding of Devonta Chain here. Just a little reminder, because a lot of people were looking at him when he got drafted, and maybe some people have forgotten exactly what it is that Devonta Chain can actually offer here. So, Devonta Chain, back when he was in college at Texas A&M, Devonta Chain was probably one of the most storied running backs that they have had in a very long time, and I'm just going to run this down for you guys. In 2022, that was his best year, right? He had 196 carries for 1,102 yards rushing. He averaged 5.6 yards per carry. He ran for 8 touchdowns, And get this, folks. This was actually, he only had 10 games played. The year before, he actually played in 12 games. So his performance in 2021 is what facilitated his extra usage in 2022 for Texas A&M. So again, I'll go ahead and give you some stats here. As far as rushing yards concerned, in 2021, he ranked number 7 overall in the SEC with 910 rushing yards. And then in 2022, he was number 3 overall in the SEC with 1,102 yards rushing. So that's already something pretty remarkable. And in 2021, I want to go ahead and just remind you, everybody here. In 2021, Devonta Chain ranked number 1 overall in the entire SEC in rushing yards per attempt. He had 7 yards per attempt that year in 2021 that he was able to get that done. Now, that's just what he was able to accomplish while he was in college. So what has he done since he made it to the NFL? So we've already established this in just a few shows ago. Devonta Chain has already started to impress his teammates with his ability to learn how to pass block. He's learning that very quickly. He's not on Dalvin Cook's level, granted, but he's not on Dalvin Cook's level at anything at this point in his career. He literally just got started. But he's already showing that speed. He's showing that ability to catch passes out of the backfield. And even though he's not the best pass blocker, he is learning quickly. He's being able to stop certain players. He still struggles with some things, but he is learning the process, and that is a good thing. It's going to take some time before Devonta Chain becomes the guy that he can truly become. But I want to go ahead and highlight this really quickly here, because what he did against the Atlanta Falcons is already an indicator of what he can potentially accomplish. So as far as his overall yardage goes, while Devonta Chain didn't do a whole lot as a rusher, he had 10 carries for 25 yards. He only averaged 2.5 yards per carry. But keep this in mind, he had a lot of backup offensive linemen who were making him have to go for either 0 or maybe 1 yard, 2 yard gain at a time. So that's not really the best situation for him. But as a pass catcher, he was actually Miami's leading pass catcher against the Atlanta Falcons in this first preseason game that we just watched. 4 catches, 41 yards, 10.2 yards per reception. That's what Devonta Chain can potentially do. He may start out as a weapon out of the backfield, as a pass catcher, but I think given time and better blocking, Devonta Chain can absolutely get the job done. He's shown that he's willing to hit the hole fast. He doesn't hesitate. That may sometimes come back to bite him, but it means that he is not timid about what he's about to do. He's going to go out there and he's going to rush with everything he's got. And not that I want to necessarily give people hope to count on this, but I would like to say that there's a dark horse here in Myles Gaskin. And this is coming from somebody who's really had enough of Myles Gaskin on the roster and the fact that he keeps coming back somehow. But I have to give him credit. 7 carries, 57 yards rushing, 8.1 yards per attempt. Myles Gaskin was running like his life depended on it against the Atlanta Falcons. Again, backups, granted. But that is some really impressive running from a dude who's fighting for his NFL career. Maybe he ends up beating out Savon Ahmed. Maybe he can offer something to the Dolphins. That raw effort and willpower, that is something that Myles Gaskin has always had in abundance. So, is the running back position in danger? No. Is it a cause for concern? No. Would Dalvin Cook have been a tremendous luxury and a boon to the Miami Dolphins offense? Absolutely. Am I upset that he went ahead and signed with the Jets? Not upset, disappointed, maybe, but I'm not losing any sleep over it. I 100% believe that the guys that are on the roster already for the Dolphins can get the job done for what it is that they are going to be expected to do. None of the guys on the roster are going to be expected to carry the ball 20 times per game. Even if Dalvin Cook had signed, he might have gotten 10, 12, maybe 15 attempts per game, just touching the ball. Never mind rushing the ball, just getting touches, because there are other guys on that roster who also need that attention. And so all of these factors coming in, fine, the Jets have Dalvin Cook now. They're that much better now. But am I more concerned about the Jets now than I was before? No, I am not. I know that Dalvin Cook is a very good player, but Breece Hall is also a very good player, so it really wouldn't have mattered who was rushing the football. Whether it's Breece Hall or Dalvin Cook, they were going to be dangerous no matter what, and I personally feel like Vic Fangio is going to have them prepared for what they are about to face this season. They have a whole bunch of different players who are ready to go that we didn't get to see against Atlanta because they didn't need to play. They have guys that are loaded up top, and they have guys that are ready to go against whatever they may face, because Vic Fangio is going to have them ready and prepared with that new defensive scheme that we are so excited to really see in action. We haven't seen anything yet. The preseason is not where you show off all your best skills or all your best weapons or all your best tricks. All we are seeing is very basic coverages against very basic offenses. We are going to be seeing things that we probably are going to be jaw-dropped at. And I am looking forward to every moment of it. Devonta Chain is the guy that we're going to be holding on to now. Raheem Mostert is going to be the guy that we're going to be waiting to see what he does to start off the season. And we are going to see more of our rookie as time goes on. And when we need somebody to change the pace, Jeff Wilson will be there to continue doing what he's done all his career and be a solid contributor when called upon. Yes, it sucks we lost out on Dalvin Cook on an emotional level because I wanted to have that luxury. I'm a very greedy person. I want it all. But if the fact that we didn't get Dalvin Cook, am I upset over it? No. Disappointed? Kinda. But ultimately, I am still satisfied with what we have at running back now. Raheem Mostert can get the job done. Devonta Chain, I feel like, is going to develop into somebody special either sooner or later. And all of his teammates are acknowledging that this guy is going to be something special. You didn't see that a whole lot with Noah Monogany. They would say nice things about him, that he's improving, that he's getting better, he's learning the defense, blah, blah, blah. They never said that Noah Monogany was going to be something amazing in this league, and they've already said that about Devonta Chain multiple times. So hang your hat on that. Hang on tight. We are going to have one heck of an AFC East showdown when the season finally begins. That's going to be it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening. Make sure you're going to prizepicks.com and use that promo code 5. That's FIVE. Today is Taco Tuesday, so there are a lot of discounted props for you to take advantage of. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that so you can probably win some big bucks. They will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up to PrizePicks using our promo code 5. Again, that's FIVE. And of course, go to You Break Wheel Fix. You can reach out to Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 if you need to get your wheels fixed up or if you just want to give your ride the ultimate Dolphins makeover. Again, 305-748-0112 is the number to call, or you can go to youbreakwheelfix.com, get an estimate in just minutes. Tonight, Pulse of Fins Nation will be live at 7:30 p.m. I will have my co-host Ron Caniff. Alfredo Artiaga will probably be there. We may have even some more guys to talk about all this stuff that's going on right now with the Miami Dolphins. We are looking forward to seeing you there, and we will see you tomorrow for another episode of Fins Nation.